Move to strike the last word.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise briefly to engage the Chairman and the Ranking Member in a colloquy. First, I would like to thank Chairman Frelinghuysen and Ranking Member Kaptur for their work on this bill, and in particular for their willingness to hear my concerns regarding the needs of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I think I speak for all of us when I say that a well-funded Army Corps of Engineers means good jobs and important infrastructure improvements in the regions helped by their projects. Of particular interest to me is the special role that the Army Corps plays in mitigating the impact of floods caused by an increasing number of severe weather events in our communities. I know that I'm not the only member in this room whose district was ravaged by Superstorm Sandy as it swept up the East Coast last year. Chairman Frelinghuysen's district in New Jersey was also severely affected by the storm, and Sandy is just one example of the magnitude of damage our cities and towns suffer year after year when they are not adequately prepared. With limited resources available after a storm like Sandy, flood mitigation efforts have become more important than ever. An ounce of prevention is, as they say, worth a pound of cure. Madam Chairman, back in 2010 I was able to secure an authorization for the Army Corps of Engineers to conduct flood mitigation studies in my area. Studies that would culminate in an important recommendation for preventing future flood damages in Fairfield County, like those that occurred during Sandy and countless other storms in recent years. Unfortunately, with the current backlog at the Corps, it is unlikely that these studies or any other so-called New Start projects will receive the funding they need to move forward as promised and needed years ago. I know there are dozens, if not hundreds, of projects waiting for Army Corps funding, and I have no delusion that my district is more deserving than others for this funding. But perhaps it is time to reevaluate the necessity of the older projects, reprioritizing the projects that are still necessary and those that are most urgent. We must find a way to begin new projects and ensure that our cities and towns, like those in Fairfield County, are prepared for the next big storm. I would ask the Chairman and Ranking Member whether this ban on New Start projects is something that merits further consideration. I yield to the Chairman, the gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Himes of Connecticut makes a good point about the importance of making infrastructure investments before major disasters can occur. I share his concerns about the backlog of Army Corps of Engineers projects, particularly in the backdrop of communities throughout New England and the Mid-Atlantic area who continue to rebuild after one of the worst storms in our nation's history. I want to assure the gentleman that the committee's position on New Starts is reconsidered each and every year. We take a look at the funding requirements of ongoing studies and projects, new studies and projects, and overall funding levels for certain accounts. I commend the gentleman for his attention to this issue. I look forward to working with him to address these new needs at the earliest appropriate time, and I yield my time back to him.
And I look forward to working with the Chairman as well, and I yield now to the Ranking Member, the gentle lady from Ohio.
I join Chairman Frelinghuysen and Representative Himes in emphasizing the importance of the Army Corps of Engineers projects. The Army Corps of Engineers has an important presence in the Great Lakes region, operating an electrified barrier in the Chicago area waterway system to keep the invasive Asian carp from entering the Great Lakes and devastating the fishing industry and ecosystem of 1/5 of the world's fresh water. So I appreciate the gentleman from Connecticut for acknowledging the importance of Corps projects beyond the eastern seaboard, and I agree that the backlog of Army Corps projects is preventing the Corps from taking on new projects in a time-effective manner, which is particularly problematic as we approach hurricane season once again. I look forward to working with Mr. Himes and deciding how we can ensure new projects get the funding they need while also honoring those worthy projects which have been waiting for some time now.
And I thank the Ranking Member and look forward to working with her on this as well, and yield back.